Everybody has a day when the sun stays away. Take heart in a new tomorrow. Live more love between us for a brighter day. Never need worry, let one love set you free. One love, keep us together. Living in a world, it's a struggle to stay alive. One love, keep us together. Living in a world, it's a struggle to stay alive. Somebody tell me, oh why do we fight it? One love can set us free, we just let it be. Take heart in a brand new day. Good love is all we need to take the clouds away. Never need worry if you just let it be. One love, keep us together. Living in a world, it's a struggle to stay alive. One love, keep us together. Living in a world, it's a struggle to stay alive. You never need worry, no, no. Let one love set you free.
That music always gets me. It just brings out the best in me, you know, the power of love. I come to you with the power of love this evening saying, thank God it is Friday again. We want to thank God for all the hustle and bustle and the hassles of work. But now it's Friday. It's time for us to chillax and relax and have a great time. I want you to get yourself a comfortable seat, get yourself a drink, because on TGIF with Dr. Femi Paul, it is our platform to hang out, have a good time, and have meaningful and enabling conversation that equips every one of us so that we're better able and equipped to thrive in life, especially in these times of certain unpredictable times. So whilst we're going to be having fun, we're going to be talking some things that are very helpful. I want you to get ready, as always, to be part of this conversation. It is not a monologue, it is a conversation. We take joint ownership of this platform. We do this together. I want to welcome those who are joining us for the first time from wherever you're viewing from. We are one together at TGIF, and you're welcome. And I want you to don't act like a stranger, jump right into it. And for those of you that invited them, thank you. Now, I know that you're all revving up your engines because we have another palatable dish we're going to have a conversation over again today. I want to thank those of you that are sending me greetings. Dio says, hello, Pastor. Hello, Dio. And the rest of you, whatever you do, send me an emoji. Let me know you're with me because we're one together. Now, TGI family, today, I need to remind particularly those who are joining us for the very first time, and we're all about enabling and meaningful conversations. Conversation is a catalyst for innovation, says John Seeley Brown, which means conversation kind of winds up the creative and innovative part of us so that we can move forward. And that's what is supposed to be going on today. It will happen today. And it was Samuel Johnson who said, we had talk enough, but no conversation. There was nothing meaningful discussed. Never will that be on TGI. We're going to have a lot of talk. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a laughter. We're going to throw some jokes around. But we will have a conversation and a lot of meaningful things to be said and learned. Without enabling conversation as we have at TGI, there cannot really be any exchange of thoughts or opinions, and consequently, there will hardly be any new understanding upon which we can make progress. TGI, my friend, is all about helping one another, helping people like you and I to handle life better, and we will handle this year 2021 better, particularly if you're kind enough to share your knowledge, your stories and experiences with us today. So with that, I'm going to ask you to get ready to post your contributions, your questions, your comments, whatever you do. And on top of that, this is critical so that we send out this conversation to all the quarters of the earth, to those who want to navigate their way forward. Share this video. The power of sharing means that you're blessing people all over the place. And all it takes is one finger on that part of your screen that says share, and touch it and it goes. So I want you to do that for me. I want you to do that for so many people who need to be part of this conversation, may not know about it or may not be able to join us even right now. So do the right thing, share this video now. Now, TGI is so exciting. A couple of weeks back, we looked at the subject. Nigerians love this song, Bank Error in Your Favor. Aha! What would you do? A lot of people say, I keep the error in my pocket. That bank error is an angelic assistance to me. You need to go watch that video. It's all on our social media platforms. And right after that, we looked at the subject, dealing with the need to lie or being lied to. Dealing with the need to lie. And being lied to. How do we deal with it? That was another storm in a teacup. And by the time we're done, we're really enabled to know how to deal with these things. And right after that, we looked at the subject, what really matters to men and women these days. Not what we think, not what we imagine, what really matters to men and what really matters to women these days, because we have to interact, we have to get married, we have to have relationships, we have to have daughters and sons. So we found out what really matters. And so the subject was what really matters to men and women these days, the myths. Those are the suppositions, the truths, and the present day realities that has changed women and men. The way the world is today, it has changed a lot of us. And not because we are even looking for the change, it is so intense. So we find out what really now matters to men and women these days. Please go watch this video, share it with someone. And only last week, we looked at the subject of trust issues. That's a bit of a cold one. Trust issues, the realities, but also the way forward. We never talk about a problem without providing solutions on TGI. That's why you need to stay here, you need to invite people, you need to be a part of this, because it helps us to navigate our way forward, and we can mount up with wings as an eagle and ascend to the heights of promotion, elevation, fulfillment in life as God has spoken over our lives. Now, this edition is going to be hot, sizzling hot. Our subject for today is people's opinion about us. Isn't that something we think about all the time? People's opinion about us. Does it matter? And how much should it influence us if it matters? Another way to look at it, how much should we allow it to impact us? People's opinions about us. As we talk about people's opinion about us, don't we form opinions about people ourselves? Do we ever stop to imagine how it affects them? We need to talk. The conversation is open. If you think this is a great subject, I want you to post me a high five, a thumbs up. Just let me know that we're on the right path. And don't do just that. I want to see your comments. I want to hear your contribution. Even if you disagree, send me some stories, real life stories that drives home the point. There's nothing like a real life representation of any theme of a conversation. Bring it home, baby. Bring it home. I'm going to start with a quote from Michael Gervais. Michael Gervais said, "Our fear of other people's opinion, fear of other people's opinion," he calls it FOPO, F-O-P-O. Our fear of other people's opinion, as I call it, FOPO as I call it, has become an irrational and unproductive obsession in the modern world. Michael Gervais says our fear of other people's opinions, FOPO as I call it, has become an irrational and unproductive obsession in the modern world, which means it's a growing obsession. It's a growing problem. That's why we need to have this conversation. By the way, I learned the word FOPO, F-O-P-O. It means fear of other people's opinion. We need to send that out. I want you to hashtag it and say, TGIF, we're talking about FOPO, fear of other people's opinions. It has become an irrational, unproductive is a word, obsession in the modern world. I wonder why people have not been having this kind of conversation before. Maybe that's why you and I are on this platform, and we need to invite people. We need to get this word out. I want to throw in my own opinion. I want to ask a question. Is it because others tend to treat us according to what they have heard about us through other people's opinion, that those opinions begin to matter very much to us? Is it because other people tend to treat us differently from what they have learned or heard from other people's opinion, that these opinions begin to matter so much to us? What is the reason that other people's opinions begin to matter so much to us? It is becoming something that's getting out of hand. Can you tell me? Think about it. What are the other reasons why people's opinions begin to matter so much to us? Apart from what I said, what I think is because we think people who hear those opinions will act in a certain way, detrimentally to what we want or what we're all about. That's why other people's opinion matters so much to us. But to you, my friend, what are the other reasons why people's opinion matters so much to us? I need to hear from you. Now, whilst you're typing that, I trust that you are, I want to provoke thoughts and conversation a little more on the subject of people's opinion about us. And that what I want to ask you is the role of bias in opinions formed about us by people. What is the role of bias? Most and generally in the opinions formed by other people concerning us. Is bias one of the reasons that it goes bad or not? I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. Okay. Now, so concerning bias and opinions formed by us, and how at the end of the day it kind of rattles our equilibrium, it kind of offends us sometimes and all that. Okay, Leke, thank you for your contribution to my question, what is the role of bias in opinions formed about us by people. It says people's opinions sometimes matter to us because we hold these people in high esteem. Okay, that's a good one. In some cases, the opinions come from people we hold in high esteem. Okay, that's true. I still want to hear from you. What is the role of bias in opinions from about us by people? Now, I had this conversation, and one of the guys on my team, Awesome, said something that answers to some degree the role of bias in opinions formed about us by people generally. This is what Awesome said. Very interesting. 2 days after resumption in my former place of work, someone offered me a cigarette. And I told him thanks, but I don't smoke. He didn't say anything after that, but went about telling other people that I pretend I don't smoke, but my eyes are always red. Can you swallow that? Can you deal with that? Awesome goes on to say, I didn't take it personal though. He's a very mild character, thank God for that. I'm not sure how I will have reacted. But I didn't take it personal though. But I called him and explained to him why my eyes were always red. I would have shown him the red of my eyes. I want to hear what you would have done. Because apart from the serious thing, we want to have a laugh as well. I will have shown him the red kuru of my eye. This Awesome is so mild. He says, but I called him. I didn't take it personal. How nice. This guy should live in London. I called him and I explained to the joker why my eyes are red. And for sure I'm the red eye. He concludes by saying, this made me realize that most times people's opinions are not necessarily based on fact or the truth, but on assumptions. Well, he uses the word assumptions. I think I use the word bias. The bias is anybody that their eyes are red, they are on something. You know, what this guy Awesome doesn't know is he has never been a bad boy before. When the guy say, why you say not smoke cigarette, my eyes are red. No, the people whose eyes are red, they smoke cigarette and smoke other thing. But thank God you don't know any better. That's why you didn't show the red of your eye. So that for me is an example of bias. How that people form opinions based on bias. Bias is something that's already resident in them or in their heart, by which they color everything. It's like if I were wearing green tinted glasses, everything will be a shade of green. So sometimes the opinions that ravage our lives and mess up our equilibrium and sometimes decimate our courage and faith and our ability to move forward may just be from the root of bias. The bias was, for this guy, red eye means you need some pep. So why are you pretending? Now that could be very insulting, because I know for a fact that when you have dry eyes, like I have sometimes, your eyes will be red. So what you need is moisturizing eye drops. So, but this guy is not knowledgeable as to the health of the eyes, and so he has this bias and throws this assumption and publishes it. Do you know what it means when somebody says your eyes always red? I beg, you're on something, and it's in the workplace. My word, that guy needs another hand of fellowship. Aha, Tayo, how are you doing? Tayo says the role of people's opinion makes us understand how people value us. Okay, so Tayo's angle is that when people proffer their opinions, when they voice their opinion out or publish it, when we hear it, one of the things that should occur to us is to, from whatever they say as their opinion, begin to find out how they value us. And that's a good contribution. Thank you, Tayo. I'm waiting for the rest of my friends. Come on, let it roll. There's so many bright minds on this platform who want to benefit from your wisdom. Okay. Leke, you know what I mean by hand of fellowship. I can see you laughing. Okay, but thank you, Awesome, for that personalized contribution. It lends the picture. There's another 411 coming along. I think it was Lydia that said that. When I read that, you're going to be falling out of your chair. Now, I want to ask a question. Don't you too commit the same error of reaching an opinion based on your bias? For instance, there is a bias that Yoruba men, they are Onifaji, Badun, Major, Chop Life Gang. So some guys who are not Yoruba, their sister wants to date a Yoruba man, say, this guy will always be in the club. He will always be with his friends and so on. Now, it's funny to me because it doesn't bother me, but it bothers some people. So don't you also commit the same error, or haven't you committed that error before because of you made an opinion based on a bias? Now, when you think about it, and if you're honest enough about it, you realize that by publishing, saying, voicing opinions about people, when we haven't dealt with the bias in our heart, we can hurt people, we can discourage people. So this thing is not just about how I feel when I'm on the receiving side. What about when I inadvertently, I don't mean any harm, it just comes out, but I didn't even realize it is colored by my bias. Okay, we're back. All right, so I want you to publish, or I want you to post what you think about the errors we commit in the opinions we form when we haven't dealt with our biases. There are lots of ethnic biases, there are lots of color biases, there's even biases on pedigree or social status and all that. So we want to deal with that. Now, this is really very funny. Let me preface it by reading a verse of scripture. And for those who are not Christians, just stay with us because it's not offensive. Proverbs 18 verse 2 says, a fool has no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion. A fool has no pleasure in understanding. He won't calm down. Calm down, mommy, and learn something, and so that it can dissipate your bias. But such people they have pleasure in only expressing their opinion, which sometimes is muddled up by their bias. Proverbs 18 verse 2. I'll show you how that happens. I remember, I think I just moved from Nigeria. I think I just finished law school and I went to University of London. So I was in the London student community. I was a new boy on the block. And I went somewhere, a social event, with a few friends of mine. And we're talking, but no introduction has been made. Then this person said, that Femi Paul, they used to call me FOP because my full name then was Femi Orotokwe Paul, and I dropped the Orotokwe. And says, this Femi Orotokwe Paul, FOP, don't mind the boy. I hear he just entered town and he thinks he could just come and be, swagging around. He's such a snob. He's so full of himself. In fact, when I see him, I will tell him. This fellow spoke as if he knew me. And anybody who didn't know me would have been persuaded that he must have formed the opinion from a personal experience of me. Then my friends were so embarrassed. They were trying to step on his toe to say, don't talk. This is him here. When the there's one of them that's very, his sense of humor is weird. He said, well, the Femi Paul FOP has just heard it directly from you. And you can imagine what happened when that kind of thing happens. That was one deadly silence. So when the Bible says a fool has no pleasure in understanding, but only in expressing his opinion, it's some people talk without having enough reason to talk or information. And in fact, please bear with us for the interruptions. We're going to get a handle on that. I think there was another. So when this guy said, I would tell him to his face, and you know what happened? I couldn't even believe it. I was standing there looking around me. Did I stop being Femi Paul? How come this person is speaking so much about an opinion of somebody you cannot even recognize? Now that's a funny side, but I want to hear from you. You will drive the point home when you give us a live story of what you went through or somebody who experienced it. Now I want to move on to the social media. With the explosion of social media comes the bigger problems of digital Opinions, you see, all that we've been talking about is verbal opinions. But with the explosion of social media comes the bigger problems of digital opinions due to the size of the audience social media commands. If I said something with my mouth, how many people can hear me? It has to do with the small circle I keep. But when you proffer a digital opinion, the size of the social media, the audience it commands, kind of explodes the problem into gargantuan dimensions all of a sudden. So we cannot talk about people's opinions about us without going to the social media. As a matter of fact, most people live more on the social media than in real life. So we got to go there. And even though some of us are digital adapters, we're trying to adapt to it. Some are digital natives. They were born into it, the millennials, the generation Z and all that. They live more in this space. And in that space, any opinion you publish, you just get out of control. So talking about people's opinion about us, we need to deal with this thing. So digital opinions are simply those opinions expressed on social media. I just want to make that clear. Let me now... Okay, Dial, thank you. Dial contributes by saying we shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I wish you would expatiate. So whilst we're waiting for Dial to expatiate in the light of our conversation today, and this is such an enabling and positive conversation, very meaningful conversation, I want to read what contribution Leke, one of the guys on my TGIF team, said on the subject, people's opinion about us. Does it matter? How much should we let it influence us? Before I even read, do you know how it feels every time you're going through immigration? You tender your green passport in Paris or somewhere, and all of a sudden, somebody who thought you were American before because you just have a swag, you got a cool look, as Nigerian, all of a sudden, the opinion is written all over. They change your opinion. Talking about opinion and biases, come on, that green passport, it brings up a lot of bias. We got to fix Nigeria. God help us, we will. Leke, thank you for your contribution. Leke says, by definition, an opinion is simply a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. For as long as I can remember, people have had an opinion about me, from telling me what they think I should study or what academic path to follow, to how to talk, to where to work, and to how to live my life. This guy has been through a lot. With other people's opinion of me, the supply has always been much more than demand. Opinions can be categorized into two kinds, positive and negative opinions. Positive opinions are good and constructive, but negative opinions are bad and detrimental and toxic. Going by the definition above, both categories of opinions people have hurled my way weren't always based on fact or knowledge about me, and in hindsight, I shouldn't have allowed these opinions to sway me as much as they did. I agree. Adeleke, I agree. This then brings me to answer the question, which is, how much should we allow people's opinion to influence us? It says, when I was younger, I allowed myself to be heavily influenced by what other people said or thought about me. Approval addiction is what it is called. Approval addiction is when you want everybody to like you. It can cause you to always want to please everybody and be approved by them, even if deep down you know better. As a result of low self-esteem and lack of self-belief, my younger days were mostly directed and heavily influenced by the opinions of everyone around me. It harmed me and led me to being It led me to being a confused young man. How sad. That's why we should have this conversation. But thank God that's no longer the case. Some people have fantastic opinions about us, and when they share them with us, they do so with a genuine and pure heart. These people want the best for us and often go out of their way to help us become better. These people, like our mentors, parents, older friends, destiny helpers, and so on, have no ulterior motives behind sharing their opinion. These are the opinions we should allow to influence us, and I give thumbs up for that. Positive opinions we should allow to influence us. He goes on to say, at the end of the day, I believe it comes down to what is called balance. You have to put this on a balance. It says we shouldn't be so arrogant that we don't even consider people's opinion about us. We should at least think it through and adopt the good part but jettison the bad part. On the other hand, we shouldn't live our lives based on other people's opinion of us, because the weight of other people's thought can suddenly become a burden for us. It can inhibit us from living our best lives, because our entire being, which is our personality, our thoughts, and our actions, are controlled by the idealized standards of what people want to see, and they voice that out by their opinions. When we become so obsessed with other people's opinion of us, we forget our own opinion. You are entitled to your own opinion, but thank you, Adeleke, because it balances it by saying that we should allow the opinions of mentors and well-meaning people who really know us and want us to be better. We should allow those opinions to really influence us. But for everybody else, it says we shouldn't become so obsessed with other people's opinions about us, lest we lose ourselves, and that will not be a portion in Jesus' name. Okay. Now, conclusion. Oh, he has a conclusion. It says, I read an article that mentioned some things to remember when considering other people's opinion of you. People will always find someone to talk about. Your self-worth isn't defined by an approval rating of anybody. They don't know your journey, where you have been, or where you're headed. You will never please everyone with your decisions, so don't even try. What's good for someone else might not be good for you. So in totality, you can make a conscious effort to stop being ruled by other people's opinion. You have to make a conscious effort. It's not just by praying. He said this is a skill. I like that word. It is a skill that needs to be learned and practiced. But once you have learned it, you will see the world as entirely different. Once you give up catering or pandering to other people's opinions and thoughts, you will find out who you truly are, and that freedom will be like taking a breath, hallelujah, for the first time. Thank you, Adeleke, for that. Now I want to hear from you what you think of that, and please do not forget that you can ask your own questions and you're free to disagree. But whatever we do in love, and that's why we open every edition with a song, One Love, Keep Us Together. Now, whilst you're doing that, it is important for me to remind you to answer the question, what is the role of bias in the opinions people arrive at concerning you? And bias is something that is already resident in people, maybe from their upbringing, from their experiences, which colors every opinion that they render. And if you ever fell into the wrong bias group with someone that has a bias problem, you're going to pay for it. So what is the role? And let's ask ourselves the question, do we not form opinions about people based on our biases as well? And if we don't like what it feels like when we're the receiving end, we should think about it and be more cautious about doing that in the future. What goes around comes around. Okay? I want to ask a question. And this is a very big question. Is it necessary to try to correct people's opinion? Is it necessary for us to try to correct people's opinions about us? If it is necessary, how do we go about it? There must be a wrong way to do it, which can lead to confrontation, an argument, and fight. And then there must be some right way of doing that. Because if people carry opinions that do not reflect who we are, it's not always easy to just keep quiet and say nothing about it. Sometimes we need to be a little more proactive to try to correct that. Look at the situation I said when I was in London. This fellow was talking about how of a snob I am, who do I think I am, and I think I come and take up the city coming from Nigeria. And the person was talking about this FOP. Obviously that person doesn't know, cannot recognize it, and I'm standing right in front of the person. So the question is, should I have corrected the person? It's dicey. And if I were to correct the person, what is the best way to go about it? We want to hear from your wisdom. Some of you are so knowledgeable. Share that knowledge and God bless you the more. Okay. Olaide, nice to have you on. It's been a while. Olaide says, as much as we want to listen to people's opinion, either role models or not, as an individual, you need to know your self-worth, your calling, your value system, your beliefs, because it all boils down to you and only you. Self-worth and not others' worth. I like that one. You can listen, digest, and pick what fits your life and pattern. Thank you, Laide. Nice to have you back. I want to hear from the rest of you. Don't be just a receiver and you're hoarding your wisdom and your personal expenses that will bless someone. The question is it necessary to try and correct people's opinions? And if so, what is the best way to go about it? How should we do it so that it doesn't exacerbate the problem and perhaps it's going to make it better? I have something to say, but I don't want you not to say anything, so I'm just going to slow it down a little bit so that I hear. You know, a wise man adds other people's knowledge to his own and not imagine you are the only person that knows a little bit. Okay, Adeleke, oh, good one. Adeleke says we should correct people's opinions when we can, so that they don't continue spreading the wrong information. We should do so firmly but with restraint. Sounds good. Okay, what's going on with Facebook? Sounds good, but I'm hoping it's going to work out when we try to do this. My friends on Facebook, I doubt if you can hear me, but we're trying. Okay, we're back on. Thank you. Now, Dio answers a question. Thank you, Dio, for your contribution. Dio answers my question, and she says, I usually don't correct people's opinion about me, but I always correct people's opinion about. I usually correct other people's opinions about others that I know. Oh, I see, the S was missing. Dio says, I usually don't correct people's opinion about me, talking about herself, but I always correct people's opinions about others that I know. That sounds so Christian. That sounds so, what's that word? Generous. And I thank you, Dio, for that. You see, it threw me into a moment of thought. So Dio, what Dio is she's not all about herself, but she will defend other people, and hopefully people will defend you too, because what you give comes back to you. Thank you, Dio, for your contribution. Now I'm going to say something very quickly, and that is my own opinion about correcting people's opinion. There's a sharp difference between opinion and informed opinion. There is a sharp difference between opinion, that's you just saying whatever comes to your mind, and informed opinion. And it is only well-informed opinion that one should allow to influence one's life. So if somebody gave an opinion that is not well-informed, one of the ways I would correct it and say, how did you arrive at that? Can you educate me? Now, if the person has no basis of saying that, they'll back off. Because I didn't challenge your opinion. I'm just wanting to learn from your rich repertoire of information, knowledge by which you audaciously arrived at that opinion. So the sharp difference between opinion and a well-informed opinion is what, for me, is a middle line. And it is only well-informed opinion that we should allow to influence us. And when any opinion we want to proffer, let us ask ourselves, am I well-informed on this subject before I broadcast or say my opinion? Olaide comes along and says, thank you, Olaide. We can correct other people's opinion if they are wrong. The ball is now in their net to listen or not. You sound very courageous. But must be done in love. I like that. And not to despise or force it down their throat. Nice balance. Olaide, thumbs up for you. Good. Now to my statement about informed opinion, me saying it is only well-informed opinion that one should allow to influence us, and we can ask for the source of the information by which people arrive at an opinion. There is a quote that embellishes that. That quote is given by Harlan Ellison. Harlan Ellison said, "You're not entitled to your opinion. You're only entitled to your informed opinion. You are not entitled to your opinion." I hear people say everybody's entitled to their opinion. No, you're not informed. You're not entitled to your opinion. You're only entitled to your informed opinion, because what you're saying is about somebody else. You can't just say everything that just you want to say, because that person should be respected. With that, okay, I have another contribution online now. Okay, Olori says, I think this is Biola Shonubi, but Biola says, most times the opinion people have is usually the first impression. I don't try to correct it, but when you eventually get to know me, you may change your mind. These people are so, your character is just nice. You're so, I hope you mean it. And for the rest of us who haven't reached that level of character, let's learn from Biola, who would approach this and let time tell and give people a chance to eat their words because she's sure of her character. Daniela says we can correct people's opinion about us, but we should be sensitive to our environment if the timing is right, else we may have to look for a better or appropriate time to do it. These people, I like you. I like the way you talk. I like the way you do stuff. My God, I'm in good company here. Okay, the younger lady says, if they are not important to my destiny, there is no need to correct their opinion about me. That is hot stuff right there, right there. I would rather spend that time to doing something more productive. Last, everybody will be all right. This girl has been on the street a little bit. She has to see me after the broadcast. Last, everybody is going to be all right. I don't need to talk to you. God is on everybody's side. Okay, I'm going to read a full contribution by Lydia on the subject of other people's opinion about us, and whether this matters and how much we should let it influence us. She says, I remember when someone whom I just became friends with in church told me that some guy in her department said she should stop hanging out with me. When she asked guy why, he said that girl is proud and badly behaved. Oh. And so we laughed about it. Are you serious, lady? You laughed about it with your friend? I'm not sure I would be laughing. He said we laughed about it. But when I thought about the gist later that day, I was upset. That's more realistic. I was upset and offended. Reason being that this guy has never had a conversation with me before. He had no right to make that opinion because he was not well informed, is what she said. I have not had any reason to relate with him or anybody in his circle yet, and yet he was spreading this bad opinion about me. Interesting fact is that 2 weeks after I heard this gist, This guy sent me a friend request on Facebook. For some reason, I don't know and I don't understand, I accepted the request. He posts good comments on my pictures, yet he tells people that I'm proud and badly behaved. What do you think is going on here? And she says, what are opinions? The dictionary says an opinion is a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge. When people's opinions are hurtful and harmful, some of us pretend not to care. There are a few good pretenders. but if the truth be said, only very few people truly don't care about what others think of them. And I agree with him. She goes on to say, generally, most of us really don't want to care about what others think of us. Sometimes we succeed and sometimes we fail. Even a completely ridiculous and untrue opinion by a total stranger, which shouldn't even bother us at all, actually still hurts us. Though we like to deny it, but people's opinion do matter to us. Question is why? And she answers the question, says, because people matter. Some people, to avoid this pain, become people pleasers. Personality less, as a personality -less, personality less kind of people, yes men and women who give other human beings too much power and treating them like gods. Others go to the extreme opposite, locking up their hearts, pulling out their mask of meanness and cynicism, looking down on all human beings as being stupid, small-minded, worthless creatures whose thoughts are no more than those of a cockroach. And many of us actually alternate between these two extremes. Wow. The first truth we must deal with is that people will always have an opinion of us. Some of them may be true and some of them will be false. But one of the most important things to keep in mind is that what a person says or thinks about you is not necessarily true about you. Some people lump you into a category and slap a label over the whole group. For example, I have a friend who believes that every light-skinned guy is a playboy. Thank God I'm not light-skinned. All the guys are light-skinned there, you need to be looking for lady whether this comment is well informed or not. Oh no, she says, I have a friend, so it's not her opinion, who believes, can you imagine? Look at bias, who believes that every light-skinned guy is a playboy. Another friend of mine believes that any middle-aged man sporting a white mustache is unserious and probably a sugar daddy. Where are my boys? I told you all when you start developing the mustache and beard, I said, watch out. Now you're paying for it. Thank God I don't have a mustache. She goes on and says, sometimes also, but you see, that's thoroughly wrong and it's biased, categorizing people just like that. But she goes on to say, sometimes also when people are feeling bad or sick or angry, they lash out without thinking, and the horrible things they say about you is not really about you, but it's just a projection of their own pain or discomfort at that point in time. The reason why other people's opinion affect us is because the people that these opinions come from are usually valuable to us. And I can relate with that. I can truly relate with that. Where are you, my people? I want to hear from you. I want to hear your comments on all these contributions. I want to see your questions. Where are the emojis? There's some emojis that, just make me have a thoroughly good time. Okay, let me finish reading what Olaide has to say. It says, as a Christian, the only person whose opinion should matter most is God. Okay. When I hear God, I slow down. And not other people's opinion, or not even my own opinion. I totally agree with you. Because when we're talking about opinion, it's almost like people don't remember that God has an opinion. So, question is, what does God say about you? To answer that, she says the best place to check what God says about you is the Bible. That's a reference book. But the trick is not to give other people's opinion too much weight either. And no matter what others think, don't allow that to overwhelm your sense of self. Base your identity on the truth of the Word of God, and you'll be able to face other people's opinion, both negative and positive, with a proper attitude and perspective. Thank you, Laide, for that. And for those of you, okay, some people are having a go at me. Like it says, Laide, Lori, I have beard and I'm responsible. I told Leke, this is your beard. This your beard will get you in trouble. Laide says, Lori, okay, that's not true. And he says, well, Leke, your beard are not white yet. If I left my beard, they will be white. So it's just a good thing we'll leave it out. So I'll stay in the right category of biases. The clean shaven guys, middle-aged guys, they're clean. They're straightforward, which is not necessarily true. Okay. Now, for those of you that just joined a little late, you know, I hope you know that we're talking about people's opinions about us, whether they really matter, and to what degree should we allow those opinions to influence us. And for those of you that have not shared the video, can you please do that? And also let us know whether you have an idea of a theme or subject that you know that it would be good for us to have a conversation around at TGIF, because we value whatever you know and the things that you encounter. You can bring them to the table and we'll all be the better for it. Okay, now I want to make a comment about the digital opinions. At the beginning I said we are now in an age where the cyberspace has exploded, and we have by far Nigeria's population, we have more millennials and digital natives by age, so they are running things, and it's such a big space. So when you proffer an opinion verbally or orally, how many people can hear it? But when you post your opinion on the cyberspace, on the social media platforms, it becomes a digital opinion that goes from one end of the world to the other end of the world. Literally billions of people have access to that. So the problem associated with other people's opinion can become gargantuan and completely spirals out of control. So we need to take this conversation to the cyberspace. And here it is. I asked the question, isn't trying to get other people to like your post or to be a friend or to follow you on social media just a digital version of the need to enjoy a positive opinion from people? Isn't it the same? There are some people that try and elicit from you a positive opinion. Isn't it the same when you post something, you want to get a like, you want friends to friend you or follow you? Isn't that the same? And then to that I say, have you noticed how far most people will go to get likes and friends and followers on social media? Do these likes or followers equate with truly good opinions? Just because I like what you said, does that mean it's the same as a good opinion? Because sometimes people try to equate it. I want to hear from you. And have you also noticed the reactions when people on the social media get unfollowed or unfriended, or they lose the likes that they used to have? Have you noticed the extreme reactions they get? So now that's a digital opinion. When I unfriend you, I have shown to the world a digital opinion, and you have a right to respond or feel something about it, and how you respond to it is entirely up to you. So when that happens, I have noticed quite extreme reactions, and sometimes it gets really ugly and nasty. Now, if this is true, what do all these things tell us? And what are the problems that can be elicited from this conversation about digital opinions? Now, if you were to say something unsavory about me in a room of 3 or 4 people, I think I can cope with that a lot better than if you posted it on social media. Because once you post it, people can repost it, they can share it. And then if you post it, anybody can search it and find it. So if we're going to talk about people's opinion and we don't talk about digital opinions, we would not have done justice to it. As a matter of fact, it's the digital space that's a real problem. It's make or break. So, Licky said digital opinions. Now he's thinking. It is worth considering. It's been going on for long. Okay. Why are you taking us back on that? It says, I like white beard and mustache. Oh, I know Gary has both. Okay. And that says, social media is Loriro, but I am a digital dinosaur. I'm sure, those people around our age bracket, we should just be quiet. Let's hear from the younger ones. Now, to this question, what problems can be elicited from my expose on the gargantuan problem of digital opinions? And people have said things and it has generated storms across nations and all that. These problems, I have a reply from these digital addicts. They're not digital adapter like me. I'm like an adapter. I'm not part of the real thing. But these ones are digital natives and they're digital addicts. This is what they have to say. They say, to this issue, as social beings, it is our human nature to crave approval from others, and that desire to fit in, and in the fear of being disliked, often diminish our ability to pursue the lives we want. It says, for example, like/unlike, follower/unfollow, being friend and /unfriended, and so on. They all represent forms of digital opinion as opposed to verbal opinions. There is also the crushing silence that meets a post sometimes. Ooh, I know what that means. Nobody or a negligible number of people just notice or say nothing about this your post that you thought should be trending. It says this is seen as a very negative opinion and can have devastating effects on the one who posted or published it. It is even worse or catastrophic when unfriended or followed in the open of the cyberspace. In many cases, it leads to depression and suicidal thoughts or actions. ! These are the problems that I feel are elicited from talking about digital opinions, particularly to the younger generation, how it affects them. They always rush there and they can't deal with what they're going to meet there. And sometimes, you say something and the backlash of opinion you get will make you want to go and bury yourself under your father's farm in your village somewhere and never show up in town again. Now, this problem we're talking about is not a problem from digital adapters like myself and the people in my age bracket, but it is more for the millennials, more for the Generation Z, and more for the digital natives. But they far outnumber us, so we must talk about how to help in this manner. So right now, I want you to post your advice to these digital natives who are facing these problems. You will be doing us a world of good, because I may not be a digital native, but my children are. I have relatives, I have church members and so on that will benefit from that. So looking at the size of the problem, let's have a meaningful and enabling conversation on the way forward, talking about digital opinions that can have devastating effects, and send some to deep depression and suicidal outbursts and all that. Now I'm going to take a contribution whilst I'm waiting for you to post that from Dora. Dora says, people's opinion about us as a subject, does it matter, and how much should we let it influence us? She says, people will always talk. No matter what we do or say, every decision we make will always be scrutinized by others and attract opinions, whether sought for or not. We tend to allow an untrue opinion by a total stranger on social media, which shouldn't even hurt us, end up actually hurting us badly. We allow the opinions not to only hurt us, but oftentimes to cripple us and even to define us or redefine us. That's serious. Just as striving for balance is required in various aspects of life, listening to people's opinion and how we allow it to influence us also requires balance to shape. Like that. It is good and often beneficial to listen to the opinions of people that know us well, because sometimes we do need a second opinion and wise counsel. But when we become so obsessed with other people's opinion and lose sight of ourselves, that's when it becomes a problem. No matter what others think, we shouldn't allow people's opinion to overwhelm us. And in conclusion, God's opinion is the only opinion that really counts. So as long as we let His opinion influence us, we will be fine. Thank you, Dora, for your contribution. Okay, I'm waiting. You guys are so quiet. Are you telling me that you do not have some experiences concerning opinions voiced about you, whether good or not so good? Okay, I'll take one last contribution and I'm going to round up. Do you have a little time to send in your contributions? Awesome. Let me talk about Awesome. Awesome's contribution on the subject, people's opinion about us, does it matter how much we let it influence us? He says, all my life, people have always had something to say about me. And I've always had something to say about other people one way or the other. At least he's the only one that's saying out of all the contributors that they to say something, they form opinion. So this is a very balanced person. Others are just talking, people have opinion, people are having opinion. Thank you, Awesome. He goes on to say, which is how it has been and will continue to be. They have something to say about me, me too, I have something to say about them. The reason being that opinion is cheap and can be afforded by anyone. People's opinions are sometimes positive and sometimes negative. It is how we handle them that matters, because whether we like it or not, people will talk. Do people's opinion matter? I would say yes and no, depending on who or where it's coming from and the motive behind it. No, if it's coming from an unserious person, a spiteful point of view, name it. There are so many no's. Yes, if it's coming from a mentor or role model, somebody I know has my interest at heart, because sometimes you need to know when you're going off the line and take counsel rather than just remain opinionated. How much should I let it influence me? For positive opinions, there should definitely be no limit to how people's opinions should influence you. When it comes from a positive point of view, my opinion, just continue to take it until you become a success. He says, I will conclude with this quote from Les Brown. Other people's negative opinion of you does not have to become your reality. That's another touche there. Thank you for that contribution. Now I want to round up very quickly by saying, you want good opinions from people? I think we all want good opinions from people. But how to put that in balance? There is a warning from the Lord Jesus Christ. In the book of Luke, chapter 6 and verse 26a, the Lord says, woe to you if all men speak well of you. So if you want good opinion from everybody, Jesus says, woe to you. It means trouble will come your way if all men speak well of you. That it's not possible, that's what it means. A contemporary English version of the same scripture says, you are in for trouble when everyone says good things about you. It's a bubble, it is going to burst. The Message translation says, there is trouble ahead when you live only for the approval of others. There's trouble ahead when you live only for the approval of others. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's the wisdom of God. Now, concerning the Pharisees, these Pharisees, nobody likes to be called a Pharisee, but let's look at what typifies them. And so before we know whether we need to make some adjustments or not. In John 12 and verse 43, the Message Bible, the Lord said, when push came to shove, oh no, not the Lord, John in his account of the gospel says, when push came to shove, they cared more for human approval than for God's glory. To the Pharisees and the Sadducees, when push came to shove, they cared more for human approval than for God's glory. So they were not going to superimpose God's approval on human approval. All that drove them was to just look good and smell good before human beings. And such people are never to be trusted. People who just want to smell right in front of people, there's always something sneaky about them. In Romans 2 and verse 29b, I read from the New Living Translation. Romans 2 verse 29b, the New Living Translation says, and a person with a changed heart seeks praise and approval from God and not from people. I'm going to slow down and let you digest that. Romans 22 verse 29b, the New Living Translation says, and a person with a changed heart seeks praise and approval from God and not from people. When you are like the Pharisees, always seeking the praise of men, not caring about the approval of God, it shows that your heart is not changed. That's why I said there's also something sneaky, there's something smelly bad around such people. A person with a changed heart seeks praise and approval from God and not from people. Now I want to close with this one. You know, the Word of God is supreme. The wisdom of God and God, they are one. For me, after we've had conversations and arguments and postulations and all kinds of things, when God speaks, it is end of discussion. There's no wisdom or counsel against the Lord. Leave out like that. Let's go. Till next Friday. 1 Kings 18 and verse 21a. 1 Kings 18 and verse 21a. The New Living Translation is the icing on the cake on the subject, people's the opinions of people's opinion about us, whether it matters and how we should let them influence us. Then Elijah stood in front of them and said, how much longer will you waver, hobbling between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. How long will you be hobbling between the opinion of man and God? How long will you do that? If the Lord is God, the one who is the wisdom of all wisdom, says this is the standard, this is the right thing, this is who you are, why would you put it side by side with any other person's opinion? He said, how much longer will you waver, hobbling between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. Follow his opinion on any matter, any day, any time, and he will back you up. How much longer will you waver? I'm sure you remember James says that those that waver will not receive anything from the Lord. Those that waver and doubt, they'll receive nothing from the Lord. Hobbling between two opinions. You cannot. You are either going to be someone who puts God on top, and when God speaks, it's an end of discussion. Or you're somebody who is trying to make a God out of ordinary men. The Bible says, who is man? What is son of man? Those moments is alive. His breath, his life is like a puff of smoke. Another moment he's gone. He said he dies and his plans perish away. Who is a man who puts his trust in the Son of Man? Even in princes and celebrities, he said they go like this and all their plans die. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to humble no more between opinions. God has spoken. It is settled. He will bless you and I. But we have learned a lot on how to cope with the opinions of people and the best you can do with the cyberspace. Remember, the way you feel when people say opinions about you, publish it even on the cyberspace, how it feels, and when it's even biased or it is not well considered, it's not well informed. When you remember how it grates you on the inside, that's more reason why we should not do it. And before we speak, we consider what we want to say and we'll be well informed. And even when we give an opinion, let it be compassionate, let it be balanced, not biased. And with that, I want to say thank you. It's good having you with me on Tia with Dr. Femi Paul. It's not going to be the same without you. I want to thank you once again and say, can you kindly share this video and invite other people? We need to have conversation after conversation. The quality of conversation you have will determine the quality of the future you're going to arrive at. Talk is cheap, conversation is king. Thank you for joining us, and I'd like to invite you to our Sunday worship service here, Inspired Worship. Hallelujah. 9 a.m. on Sunday, both on-site, and if you can make on-site, we're glad to have you online. Whatever you do, don't miss it. God is going to be present to bless us. And with that, I want to say bye for now. Look forward to seeing you next Friday, and it is going to be another wonderful time together. Have a great weekend then.
Everybody has a day when the sun stays away. Take heart in a new tomorrow. Live more love between. Looks for a brighter day. Never need worry that one love sets you free. One love, keep us together. Living in a world, it's a struggle to stay alive. One love, keep us together.